It's time for Yummy variant number 20 something. Hey guys, Otaka here, back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about Yummy Solfachord, one of the many archetypes that can get splashed into the Yummy deck, and one of the many variants of Yummy, but it is one of the few that's actually showing promise. So Solfachord got some brand new support in the Doom of Dimensions archetype, in Solfachord Cutia, Solfachord Happiness, and Solfachord Solfagia. And funny enough, these cards have just kind of made it so Yummy can splash with the deck. And furthermore, on top of that, Solfachord actually has an Omni Negate in their Link 3. Now, if you summon Snatchy before you summon the Link 3, then you're probably not getting to the Link 3 on your turn, but that's the whole purpose of IP Masquerena. So again, it's just a very solid deck, and it's just more extension. It's basically the same concept as many of the other Yummy variants, like Yummy Mitsurugi, where we're just playing out so many different cards that can get us to Yummy, even if we don't open Yummy. So today we'll be taking a look at the deck list. We'll talk about the Solfachord cards and how they are complementing the deck, and then we'll also talk about some cards that are not in my own personal deck list, but are honorable mentions, and I'll even show off a handful of combos. But before we do, I have noticed that a great deal of you that are watching this video right now are not subscribed to the channel. So if you like competitive-based content, whether it's advanced format or Genesis format, then consider subscribing to the channel. But also, don't forget to leave a like on this video and comment down below your thoughts on Yummy Solfachord. And of course, it is not required, but it is greatly appreciated. But if you would like to further support the channel, then consider joining my community Discord, following me over on Twitch, and using my TCG affiliate link. And if you would like to save 50% off the next time you buy a deck box, playmat, or even card sleeves, then consider using my Dually Guard affiliate link. All links will be in the description down below. Alright, so Yummy Solfachord. So the deck list is pretty straightforward, cut and dry. Even though we are playing the Solfachord cards, the minimal engine for the Yummy archetype is going to be about 8 cards. We are playing 3 Solfachord Happiness, 3 Primoa, 1 Cutia, and 1 Solfagia. Again, just 8 cards, so we still have a whole lot of room for non-engine, but let's just go ahead and dive on into it. So we are playing 3 Fuelos, 3 Ash, 3 Bell, 3 Joel and Lockbird, 3 Purge, and 3 Imperm as our non-engine. Playing 1 Cookie and 1 Lollipo. They're just like the utility cards for Yummy. We have 1,000 different ways to get to Yummy, so we don't have to open these guys. They are just mainly here for interaction on our opponent's turn. We are playing 3 Marshmallow Yummy because he's the best one, in my opinion. We're playing 3 Cupsy because he is in line to be the best one, just because he can get us 2 surprise. We are playing 1 Solfachord Solfagia, so let's go ahead and go over the effects of the Solfachord cards in case you are not familiar. The pendulum effect of this card is when a monster effect is activated by your opponent on the field, resolves. If you control a Grand Solfachord monster, you can negate that effect, then destroy this card. You can only use the effect of Solfachord Solfagia once per turn. We are not usually getting that off because of a different reasoning. When we get to the Link monsters, I'll discuss it. But the monster effect is if you control no monsters, or all monsters you do control are Solfachord monsters, you could special summon this card from your hand. When you activate the following effect, you can also tribute this card. During the main phase, you can special summon 1 Solfachord monster from your hand except Solfachord Solfagia, or if you tributed this card at activation, you can special summon that monster from the graveyard or face-up extra deck instead. So we're not really ever using this card unless we are stuck in a grind game. Then we will probably end up using the secondary effect of this, but we are never typically summoning this off of its own effect. In fact, we are never really summoning it on our turn, and we'll get into that when we get to the Link monsters. Then we have Do Solfachord Cutia. The pendulum effect is pendulum summons of your Solfachord monsters cannot be negated. So that typically never comes up because this card is never really ever ending up in the scales. But if it for some reason does, that's not a terrible effect. The monster effect is while you have an even pendulum scale in your pendulum zone, Solfachord pendulum monsters you control gain attack equal to 100 their own pendulum scale. Again, never really comes up. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 Solfachord pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, except Do Solfachord Cutia. You can only use this effect of Do Solfachord Cutia once per turn. So that's the effect we're using. This is card we are 9 times out of 10 summoning off of the spell card, which we will get to, and that will end up getting us to the Solfagia, which we will further then scale, and we'll get into this when we get to the combos. Then we have the final main deck monster, Solfachord Primoa. The pendulum effect is when you pendulum summon monsters, you can target 1 Solfachord card in your pendulum zone, return it to the hand. 9 times out of 10, we are targeting itself and putting it back in the hand. Keep note, it is a scale 0. So the fun part about Solfachord cards is because this is scale 0 and the rest of the Solfachord cards are high scales, we can pretty much just pendulum summon anything in our deck / hand. So we are always able to pendulum summon the Solfachord cards back from the extra deck. We're always able to pendulum summon the Yummy monsters because it's a scale 0, which means we can pendulum summon level 1 monsters. Just really good that this is a scale 0. And then the monster effect is, while you have Solfachord cards with even and odd pendulum scales in your pendulum zones, your activated Solfachord cards effects cannot be negated. You can only use each of the following effects of Solfachord Primoa once per turn. If this card is normal special summon, you can add one Solfachord card from deck to hand except itself. And if you link summon a Solfachord monster, you can add one Solfachord card from your graveyard or face-up extra deck to your hand. So the second effect of this card doesn't come up a whole lot unless you are playing the Link 2, but it does help us recur resources, whether it's the spell because we didn't open more than one, or we are recurring the face-up extra deck monsters from the pendulums going to the face-up extra deck. So this is just really good, but again, it doesn't come up a whole lot if you're not playing the Link 2. And then the final Solfachord card is Solfachord Happiness. Now this card is actually just broken. This is a custom card for the archetype as a whole, but it is just a broken card. It literally works the same way as Yummy Surprise. It has 3 effects, and the card itself is not once per turn, but each effect on the card is once per turn. But the card reads, activate one of these effects, but you can only use each effect of Solfachord Happiness once per turn. The first effect is discard 1 card, and if you do, add 2 Solfachord Pendulum monsters with different scales from your deck to your hand. Then you can special summon a Solfachord Pendulum monster from your hand up to the number of monsters your opponent controls +1. So you can literally just add your pendulum scales, both of them, to hand. 9 times out of 10, you're adding Primoa and Cutia, and then you're going to special summon Cutia from your hand off of the +1. And because it says +1, then you're always able to special summon at least one Solfachord Pendulum from your hand at a time. But if you are playing into your opponent's board, then they probably already have monsters on board, so you can actually special summon both of them, which isn't like awful either. The second effect is, during the main phase this turn, you can conduct 1 pendulum summon of a Solfachord monster in addition to your pendulum summons. You can only gain this effect once per turn. And then the third effect is special summon 2 Solfachord cards from your pendulum zone. So this card just pumps out bodies. You can either add your pendulum scales and special a guy, which also that special is not mandatory, so you can choose not to do that special. You get 2 pendulum summons as long as one of them is of a Solfachord monster, and then once you're done, you can even special summon your pendulum scales to the board. This makes it so the card is incredibly flexible. You do obviously have to see more than one copy of this card to get this off, but if you open one and then you get like Primoa in hand as well, then you always have 2 on hand. And then you can also possibly get the third if you are playing the Link 2 to recycle the spell from the graveyard. A couple things to note, though, is the third effect, you have to summon both the scales. You have to summon 2 Solfachord monsters. It doesn't say summon up to 2. It says summon 2, so you have to summon both of your pendulum scales. So if for whatever reason you don't have both scales, like you have Primoa in hand because you put her back in hand off of her pendulum effect, then you will not be able to get this third effect off. As for the rest of the deck, we are playing Talents, Called By. I'm playing 3 Super Poly. I've been pushing Super Poly for the entire format, but Super Poly is just broken. It is arguably one of the best cards in the format because it just breaks boards, and it's really good going second as well. We saw this at YCS Anaheim, where like 90% of the topping lists were playing Super Polymerization, whether in main or side deck. This is just a very powerful card. Playing 1 Surprise because we search it off Cupsy and then we recycle it off of Marshmallow. We don't really need more than 1 copy of this card. If you are playing Pure, I recommend playing 2 copies of this card, but if you're playing a hybrid, whether it's Mitsurugi or Solfachord, then make sure, I think you only play 1 just to like cut down on deck size. Playing both of the field spells just for flexibility. Akruki does help us play through Nibiru because it does say if any effect monster is sent from the field to the graveyard. So if they nib you while you have like your Solfachord Link on the board, then you can just summon out a Yummy guy and continue Yummy combo from there. And then Mignon is obviously our OTK option. For the extra deck, I'm playing the 2 Super Poly targets, Mudragon and Garura. I'm also playing Chorozo in the side deck for like specifically the Draco Tail matchup. Playing the 1 Herald because it's limited. Playing the 1 Shamisen Sansara Sorrow Cat. Honestly, I mentioned this before, but I don't know why we weren't playing this before the limit to Herald, because this card guarantees that you can get 2 Heralds on the board. But this also does make it so you can recycle your Cups Yummy Way back to the extra deck, summon this guy, and you have another body for like an IP Masquerena or something. So it's 2 bodies in 1 essentially. But again, I'm just surprised it took us until Herald getting limited to 1 to actually play this card. Playing one of each of the Yummy Synchros, and then we are playing Grand Solfachord Coolia. We'll talk about the Link 2. I'm not playing the Link 2, but we will go over a combo that if you do play Link 2 and it's going to look broken, I'm not playing it just because since I'm playing Super Poly, my extra deck is 2 less slots, essentially. But Grand Solfachord's Coolia is a Link 3 Light Fairy monster, so they can't even Super Poly you if you have this on board, plus like one of the other Solfachord monsters on the board because it doesn't share the same attribute. But it requires 2+ monsters, including a Pendulum monster, gains 100 attack for each face-up Pendulum monster in your extra deck. The activated effects of Pendulum monsters this card points to cannot be negated. And once per turn, when your opponent activates a card or effect, quick effect, you can special summon one Solfachord card with an odd pendulum scale from your pendulum zone to a zone this card points to. And if you do negate the activation, then you can add one Solfachord pendulum monster with an even pendulum scale from your deck to your extra face-up extra deck. So essentially, this is an Omni negate. The add is optional. You don't have to do that, but this is an Omni negate because 9 times out of 10, when you have this card on the board, you have the Solfagia in the pendulum scale. And this is what I was talking about. You never really summon this on your turn because you need this in the pendulum scale. Because as you notice, 8 is not an odd number and 0 is not an odd number. So you have to have this in the pendulum scale because it is our only odd number pendulum monster or our odd number pendulum scale monster. So we have to have this in the pendulum zone if we want to have the Omni negate live. So again, we're not summoning this on our turn. However, it does create a scenario where if our opponent passes back to us, this is on the board now. So then we can use the second effect to tribute itself and then put a like Primoa from the face-up extra deck to the board and then add happiness. So there are further options. As for the rest of the extra deck, we are playing SP Little Knight, we're playing IP Masquerena, Gravity Controller in case we need to like link away a Garura to draw a card off the Super Poly. We're playing 2 Yummy Snatchy, 1 Link Karibo, and 1 Almirage. Almirage is just there if like they imperm the Primoa and we open a Yummy card. Same with like hand traps. We can just normal summon a hand trap, go into Almirage, and then special summon a Yummy monster. Link Karibo is here. Link Karibo is the reason like the bruise off of like the Nouvelle Mitsurugi or the this entire scenario where we have the Solfachord cards are even possible because we can turn the level 1s, which are Cudia and Primoa, into Link Karibo, and there you go. We have Link Karibo plus another one of these 2 on the board. Some honorable mentions I did want to talk about is we could actually play a Diviner the Herald, and we could play Mitsurugi. We could actually do a 60-card pile, and this actually just recently topped, funny enough. We could do a 60-card pile, Yummy, Mitsurugi, Solfachord, instead of like the Nouvelle cards, because the Primoa is a level 1 fairy. So we can just go Diviner, send the Herald, add the Mitsurugi, Habakiri summon Saji, tribute the Diviner, and Diviner summon Primoa. That's an option. If that's something that interests you, that is an option to play like a Mitsurugi brew with the Solfachord cards and Yummy. I just chose not to because I don't like playing 60-card piles. Then we have Beyond the Pendulum being an honorable mention. This is just like a good card for extension, but also interruption on our opponent's turn. It's just a Link 2 that can add like one of the Solfachord cards if for whatever reason you're missing one. But overall, like, I just chose not to run it because I'm not playing the max Solfachord engine. I do think that this card is actually better in pure Solfachord than Solfachord hybrids. And then the final card is the Grand Solfachord Musicia, or however we pronounce this card. It is the Link 2, and like I said, I'm not running it because extra deck is tight with the Super Poly in the main deck. But this does help, and we will go over a combo with it. But it does require 2 Pendulum monsters. During your main phase, you can add 1 Pendulum monster from your hand to the extra deck face up, and 1 Pendulum monster from your extra deck to hand, as long as one of them has an even Pendulum scale, and the other has an odd Pendulum scale. When you Pendulum summon a Solfachord monster, you can target one of them, add 1 Solfachord Pendulum monster from your deck to your hand, whose level equals the Pendulum scale of that monster. You can activate each effective Grand Solfachord Musicia once per turn. Now, spoiler alert, you're not using either of these effects. This is just a Link 2 that can bridge you into the Link 3, but also, as we'll go over in the combo, you're going into this card and then you are going to pendulum summon back the 2 resources that you used to make this card, and then you're going to use this plus the Cutia to make the Link 3, and then the Primoa can add back the happiness from the graveyard, and we'll go over that in the combo. Before we actually get into the combos, there's a couple things I do want to discuss with this version of the deck. First off, just like the Mitsurugi Brew, Droll is a threat. As you saw, there's a lot of adding. If you normal summon Primoa, add the spell, get Drolled, the spell is almost dead. The best effect on the spell is dead. Or if you go the spell card, add 2, special summon the Cutia, Cutia chain 1, they go chain 2 Droll, then Cutia just doesn't resolve. So there's a lot of very specific things with this deck, and Droll does hurt, and Droll is very much in the format. Secondly, we have no way to get to the Solfachord cards if we don't open them. The Yummy cards cannot bridge into Solfachord like Solfachord can bridge into Yummy. So some games you are just playing Yummy, and like, oh darn, right? Like, Yummy is the best deck in the format, whether it's pure or, you know, a hybrid. So Yummy is just the best deck in the format. So, oh darn, I'm playing pure Yummy. Rip. And furthermore, Nibiru is a giga threat to this version of the deck because the Solfachord cards do make it so you are just turboing out bodies left and right, which means that you are going to have to be smart and hold bodies for resources, preferably without consuming your normal summon. And then the last thing I want to talk about is that this is my personal favorite version of Yummy so far. I did like the Mitsurugi Brew. I liked the Nouvelle cards, but it left a lot to be desired. One, because you couldn't really cram in hand traps because the Mitsurugi engine is vastly larger than the Solfachord engine, but also, I mean, as I just mentioned, the Solfachord cards, because it's such a minimalistic engine, you still have room for so many hand traps that you can still kind of play the cards that are locking down the format because, you know, decks like Ryziel Automat or Crystron K9 are looking to do these very unfair things, and if they're not interrupted by hand traps, they're going to get away with it. But let's go ahead and jump into the combos. I have 3 combos for y'all today. One is if you open Primoa, one is if you open Happiness, because there actually is a difference with how the board turns out, and then I'm going to show off one that if you are playing the Link 2. All right, so the first combo I'm going to show off is Primoa. Like I said, there is a difference that if you open Primoa versus if you open Happiness. Primoa, one, you have to consume your normal summon, which means you are a little bit more susceptible to Nibiru, but also Primoa does have like that extra body on board for further interaction. So we are going to go ahead and just normal summon the Primoa, add the Happiness, and then we'll go Happiness effect, discarding a card in our hand that we do not need to add Primoa and Cutia, and we will special summon the Cutia. Again, the special summon is optional, so if your opponent is interacting with you, like an interaction I ran into with like Draco Tail, I went Happiness, add Cutia and Primoa, and they chained Phimina, fusing away Pan and Malulu. And so what happened is that I just didn't special summon, so the Pan and Malulu were dead. They just didn't get the pop or the negate. We will then go Cutia effect, add the Solfachia to hand, so now we have both our scales available to us. We will Link 1 into the Link Karibo, and then we will Synchro 2 into Cupsy Yummy Way because it's just that fucking easy. We'll go Cupsy Yummy Way, add Marshmallow and Cupsy, discard a card we do not need from hand. Link Summon in the Snatchy effect to place the Akruki because now that we are this far into the combo, we need to have some sort of nib extension. So if we get hit with nib, we need to be able to extend past that. We will then special summon the Marshmallow from hand. We will go Synchro 2 into Lollipo Yummy Way. Lollipo bring back the Marshmallow and the Cupsy Yummy Way. Synchro 3 into the Shamisen Sorrow Cat. Special summon the Cupsy. Cupsy add the Yummy Surprise. Synchro 4 into the Herald of Arclight. And then we'll go Shamisen, put the Cupsy Yummy Way back to special summon itself from the hand. We will go the Surprise, special summon the Marshmallow from the deck, or it's from the graveyard. And then Marshmallow, add back that Surprise. And then we will Link 2 into the IP Masquerade because we're not going to be able to get to the Link 3 on our turn because we activated Snatchy's effect. So we are going to need to be able to get to the Kulia on our opponent's turn. We will then scale the Solfachia and the Primoa, and then we will pendulum summon the Cutia and the Primoa from our extra deck, and we will set the Surprise. So a lot of implication here. First off, we have 2 level 1s on the board, which means that both of these cards are available to be used as synchro material for our Snatchy because they're both level 1s. Pretty easy, but also because the Kulia needs a pendulum monster for a Link material, the IP Masquerade plus one of these Solfachord cards can get into the Kulia, which is then another Omni Negate on top of the already pre-existing Herald. Furthermore, we just have the rest of the board, which is just typical Yummy end board. We have Lollipo being able to bounce to summon 2 guys. We have the Surprise, which can bring back a guy. We have plenty of interaction. We also have the Akruki, which can pop a card. It's just going to be really hard for them to pop this board. Now, we don't have Lollipo or Cookie in rotation, but we did put the Cups Yummy Way back into the extra deck so we can Synchro Summon into it and then still get its bounce effect, being able to just have more utility. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happens when you open Happiness. So we're going to go Happiness, discard a card we don't need to add the Cutia and the Primoa, just same 2 cards, and then we'll use Cutia's effect to add the Solfachord. So same scenario, but as you notice, we are 2 less bodies. We're going, or 1 less body. We're going to then scale our monsters to the Pendulum Zones, and we're going to link into Link Karibo, and then we will Pendulum Summon back that Cutia. We will then use the Primoa to put itself back into our hand because we Pendulum Summon a monster, and then we will Synchro 2 into the Cupsy Yummy Way. Cupsy, add to the Cupsy and Marshmallow, discard a card we do not need. We will then Special Summon the Marshmallow and then Link Summon into Snatchy. Snatchy, place the Akruki, because again, we need Nib extension. And then we will Special Summon the Cupsy here because we want to be able to dodge like Imperm, even though if they had Imperm, they would have long used it by now. But we will use the Cupsy to add the Yummy Surprise to our hands, so just more further Nib extension. We will then Link Summon or Synchro Summon into the Lollipo Yummy Way, bring back the Cupsy, and then Synchro into Shamisen Sorrowcat, Synchro Summon into the Herald of Arclight, and then with Shamisen, put back the Cupsy Yummy Way to Special Summon itself, and then we will use the Surprise, bring back the Marshmallow, add the Surprise back to hand. And then keep in mind, we have not consumed a normal summon yet, so we will use the IP Masquerena and then normal summon the Primoa, add another Surprise or Happiness to our hand. Again, we have already used the Snatchy effect to place the field spell, so we are locked out of Link 3s or higher. So we need to make sure this Primoa is on the board, so that way we can, you know, Link Summon into the Coolia on our opponent's turn. We're going to end our turn by setting the Surprise from here. And again, this is basically the exact same end board. The difference is we are 1 less body short. So the big takeaway here is that if you open Primoa versus opening Happiness, and you're not playing the Link 2, might I add, is that you have to consume your normal summon, but you do end on 1 more body than you would if you opened Happiness. And that extra body can come up. It does matter because, again, the Cutia and the Primoa are both level 1s, so they can be used for Synchro Summoning off of your Snatchy to be able to make the Yummy Synchros. And then the last combo I want to discuss is going to be if you are playing the Link 2. And we're going to, for this example, open Primoa for this example, but the Link 2 does make a difference. And like I said, the only reason I'm not running it is just because my extra deck is incredibly tight because of Super Poly. But we're going to go ahead and normal summon the Primoa, add the Happiness, and then we will proceed to activate the Happiness to add the Cutia and the Primoa, special summon the Cutia, and discard a random card that we don't need from our hand. And so the final combo I want to discuss is if you are playing the Link 2, because like I said, the Link 2 does make a difference, and the only reason I'm not playing it is simply just because I don't have the room for it in the extra deck because I am playing Super Poly. We're going to go ahead and, for this example, open with Primoa rather than Happiness, and it actually does kind of matter. So we are going to normal summon the Primoa, add Happiness to our hand. We will then proceed to activate Happiness using the first effect to discard a card from our hand that we do not need, and adding the Cutia and the Primoa to our hand. We will then resolve this effect by special summoning the Cutia. We will then use the Cutia effect to add the Solfachord from deck to hand. From here, we will go ahead and scale both the Primoa and the Solfachord, and then we will link 2 into the Musecchia, and we will proceed to pendulum scale both those monsters back, and then we will use Primoa's effect to put itself back in hand from the scale, because we did pendulum summon monsters. We will then link 3 using the Cutia specifically because we want to use the Primoa effect to add the Happiness back from the graveyard. So from here, we already have our Omni Negate, so we are a little bit more Nib resistant from this point on. However, it took way more than 5 summons to get this far. We will then proceed to rescale that Primoa, and we will use the Happiness to get a second Pendulum Summon this turn, and we will link into the Link Karibo, Pendulum Summon both those bodies back from the Pendulum, or from the face-up extra deck, and we will use Primoa's effect again to put itself back in the hand, because that is not once a turn. From this point on, it's just Yummy combo. We go Cupsy Yummy Way to add the Cupsy and the Marshmallow, discard a card from a hand that we do not need. We will then go into Snatchy, Snatchy effect, place the Akruki, special summon the Cupsy from a hand, Cupsy effect to add the Surprise. We will then Synchro Summon into the Lollipo Yummy Way. Lollipo bring back the Cupsy. Synchro into the Shamisen Sorrowcat. And then we will use the Cutia and the Shamisen Sorrowcat to go into Herald because Cutia is a level 1. So we are able to make a Synchro 4 off of that. and then we will go surprise to summon the Marshmallow from our hand, and then add the surprise back to our hand. We then proceed to link the Marshmallow into Snatchy, just so we have both Snatchies in rotation, so things don't get awkward if they banish one of them or just make it impossible to get to one of them. And then we will set the surprise and proceed to end our turn. So ending on double Omni Negate and then double Snatchy in rotation is pretty good from this point on. You can rescale the Primo if you absolutely want to. There's absolutely no purpose of doing that, though, because you can then just normal summon this on your opponent's turn. Or sorry, you can normal summon this on your next turn to get another happiness back from the deck, so that way you can hopefully maybe find combo from there. So as you see here, though, this is arguably a better board, or at least better at playing through or around specific interruptions, just simply because we are playing that Link 2 monster. And if I could fit it in the extra deck, I would. But seeing as I'm playing Super Poly, I did value being able to break opponents' boards or preventing them from establishing board way more than the Link 2. The Link 2, we're not really using its effect. It is simply just there for further extension. And because of that, I felt like it was cuttable. But that is going to be it for the Yummy Solfachord guide, so definitely make sure you leave a like on this video if it helped you or inspired you to play this deck. But also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you're not already and you like competitive-based content, whether it's advanced format or Genesis related. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And also, comment down below your thoughts on this deck. I think this is honestly my favorite version of the deck so far. It just feels so fun to play. Being able to pendulum summon out Yummy monsters is just crazy to me. But other than that, I'll see you all in the next video. See ya.